have to do it.
Yeah, the great Bill Oram of the Oregonian, he is pro me having a mustache.
Yes. Bill has a very strong mustache.
It is. When he saw I was growing my facial hair out, he was like, solidarity. He sent me a text. He sent me a text like 3 days later, and I was like, what? Where did that come from? It takes me like a whole month. And Bill's just like, nope, got it. Boom. Those you people that can just grow facial hair in a day amaze me. You guys
super
are
great.
It is incredible. It's just like
to
like
be
a little
fair,
chia pet.
I can only grow that in what I have.
Just a goatee.
Like it takes me a long time to get the beard.
Oh man!
But the goatee / mustache that comes back quick.
Hey, make sure the sound is on our YouTube stream, youtube.com/1080am the fan. We're getting the comment section.
I have it on. I know. I think I have it on.
Come on.
Well, no, here's the thing. I'm not supposed to have to hit a button.
Oh.
It's just you turn it on, you click the one button, and everything works.
Okay.
There's no extra audio. So I think I have it turned on.
All right. Well,
find out.
I think that you do need to have that turned on because the people that are watching on youtube.com/1080am the fan, there's quite a treat going on right now. Will Ortner rolled into the studios today wearing a Central Washington University number 74 jersey.
Yeah, it's like high school on Fridays.
No. Yeah, like when you wear your jersey.
Yeah.
You wear your jersey to school.
Yeah.
And you're good.
That's right. We were getting in a scrum, and he showed up, and he said, "Hey, it's sports day, so I brought one jersey of yours for me to wear, and here's a jersey for you to wear." And so I was like, "Great!" I put it on. Okay. The kids got a kick out of it, and if you don't get a kick out of it and you try to make fun of me, you're basically a piece of garbage because you are ruining other children's joy.
No, because you left that job and you came to this one, and jersey's still on.
It's duct taped on. I can't get it off. I put duct tape on it so it wasn't addressed, and now I can't get it off. And honestly, I think
at this point, shirtless would make more sense, Will.
I would go shirtless. I don't think that HR would allow me to.
We don't have HR anymore, dude.
We literally don't have HR.
Yeah.
No, I'm staying with the jersey, dude. I stand by this jersey.
If anything, you'd get harassed by, I don't know, all 5 women that work in the building here. And you would be filing the complaint.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm a very hairy individual. I think I'll be fine.
You don't know. Maybe they're out there looking for a bear like you, bud.
That's actually why Jeff Russ is home, is that we had to protect him.
Yeah, we had to protect him.
It from me or from the women?
From the women. He is so hairy. They're just like, give me more.
No.
Give me more. Well, so you're wearing your number 74 jersey today.
Authentic, game worn.
Did you pick that number?
No, it was given to me, but I mean, at this point, it's basically my number. There's only a matter of time before they put me in the Hall of Fame over there.
Wow. That's an aggressive claim. I mean, he's just going out stumping for himself in the Hall of Fame.
Well, wow. I mean, I'm out here, spreading propaganda about the greatness that is Central Washington.
Yeah.
People are texting in, see what, see woo. Everyone knows that I'm Mr. Central.
Wait.
And I'm out here helping them get recruits. I'm promoting their brand. Their football program was fantastic. Final 8 this year. Next year, we'll go all the way.
Yeah.
I don't know what more can be said.
Okay. You're the guy who, do you wear your jersey when you go back to games at Central Washington?
Absolutely not.
Nah, this is very hard to believe at this point right now. After everything you just said,
I don't need to.
I feel like you wear those.
Oh,
like
no.
he's like in a tailgate lot.
I don't need to. I'm well known.
He's like, hey, what's up?
The red carpet gets rolled out for Will Ortner.
Or you mean the crimson carpet?
The red carpet. It gets rolled out. I know what's going on.
They can tell the difference between fat or hairier Will Ortner.
No, there's usually like oh my God. You're not disgusting anymore.
You're not disgusting anymore. That's why you come back and be like, hey.
That's quite the leap to Travis
And I
Kelce.
feel like you wear that jersey to be like, hey,
This one?
you remember what I used to look like in this jersey? Look at me now. Look at me
right.
now.
Hey, sometimes.
all the townies and
I gotta let all the
Ellensburg.
all the youngins or the people that stayed there. I gotta let them know.
All
all
right.
the people that stayed there.
You know, as you were
Hey,
stumping,
my brother stayed there.
as you, oh boy, why?
He runs the Dutch Bros,
Oh, okay. Well, that actually
fair.
makes
and his
sense.
fiance
I knew-
runs an apartment out there, apartment complex.
It was like a single apartment.
Just
huh?
one, an individual. That's what they're living off of.
No, I knew several people in college that dropped out of school to take over Dutch Brothers. And at the time we were like, what are you doing? This was 20 years ago now, right? We're like, why would you drop out of school for that? Yeah, they all own Dutch Brothers now and are doing very well for themselves.
Oh, well,
they got a good
Where
little
you-
system
where
going
you were.
on
That's where they
there.
came out of.
Yeah, they started in Grants Pass,
Yeah,
so it
a
was like
marketing project.
it was like all of the people that were like on the ground floor of that, boy, they're doing very well.
I
for
don't
themselves.
understand the cult of Dutch Brothers. They're like, I can go by one at 2:00 in the afternoon, and
Yeah.
both sides of that place will be filled.
Yeah, bro, you don't know about the Dutch Mafia.
I do, but it's like it doesn't make any sense. Number one, who's drinking coffee at 2:00 in the afternoon?
the people that like sugar.
Yes, that part. It's not caffeine. It's sugar.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Have you ever seen do you ever watch the show Undercover Boss? I like the show Undercover Boss.
I've never watched it all the way through. I've seen like snippets and clips here or there across social
Yeah.
media, but yeah, I get the gist.
Will Ortner, you need to do me a favor, and you need to grab the Undercover Boss with the Dutch Bros guy in it, the guy who founded Dutch Brothers.
Ooh, I'll have to watch that.
No, it's a really good one. I am telling you right now, and these clips are they got to be on the internet. Whatever you're thinking the CEO of Dutch Brothers sounds like is exactly what the Dutch Brothers CEO sounds like. And when you know that he's like from Grants, like lives in Grants Pass in like a big compound, you'll be like, yeah, okay. Yep. All this is making
tracking.
sense right now. Yeah. But it was a really good one. And he is like, he's one of the bosses that like you get done watching the show and you're like, I feel like he actually does care, you know, because that's the fun game is you watch Undercover Boss and you're like, I don't think this person really cares. I don't think that they do. I got the feeling I was like, I think he actually cares about the people that are working for him.
Is he like every Dutch Bros worker ever? Like clearly a stoner wearing a drug rug?
What?
What?
What's a
It's a
drug
sweatshirt. It's a type of sweatshirt.
Oh, gotcha.
When you think of like stoner from Portland, Seattle, you
Yeah.
think of a drug rug.
Yeah.
And that's
like
why
the
it's
a poncho.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I feel like that's lots of beanies, long hair,
Yeah.
long
lot,
hippie hair.
lot of toque action.
Yeah. Boy, you Google drug rug and
It nails it.
it nailed like it's like, yep, we got this all figured out. And
See, Will knows slang.
yeah. Yeah, when you said that, I kind of had an idea of what you were going for, and then I was like, yeah, that's 99% of the sweatshirts worn in Ashland. So I know exactly what that means. That guy rides a longboard, has a beanie, will either wear like a backpack that is super tight, will wear that backpack very tight to them, or wear a satchel.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
one or the other. There's no in between here. It's a very definite. They wear Tivas.
Garbage facial hair.
Easy. Take it easy on the facial hair. We just got the Pedro Pascal, right?
But
Don't
he's not
just
wearing a
There's a
drug rug.
Fanta somewhere.
But
Don't.
he's not wearing a drug rug.
Don't. I bet I can find you a picture of Pedro Pascal in what? Wow. It's like it is already. Oh yeah, there it is.
Oh, all right. I stand corrected.
You can quite literally Google drug rug Pedro Pascal and a photo pops right up.
I stand corrected. My bad.
Like, look at that. It just pops right up.
I mean, come
It's
on.
right there. It's right there.
I mean, have we seen the guy? Of course he has.
Yeah, I probably should have.
Yeah, you should have known that.
That's
you
on
should
me.
have known
You know
that.
what?
Hand up.
That's my bad.
Hand up.
My BG.
That's on you. All right. Well, Will Ortner's here. In case a football game breaks out, he's ready to go. We are both here. We've got a lot of sporting to get to today. We'll get into the college football playoff a little bit today. I think that is important, that we need to start taking an eye and a look at that, because
Feels like it's so far away.
it is. But the holiday's right around the corner.
Which means it's not that far away.
And there was a question posed by the great Ryan McGee, you know, Marty Smith and Ryan McGee, Marty McGee. He posed a question that I think that everybody in the Northwest as a collective, you need to start wrapping your head around.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And we'll get to that, because if you do not like the Washington Huskies, you're going to have to get real comfortable being uncomfortable over the next couple of weeks. And it's something that you should probably be rooting for. Yeah, that's the weirder part, isn't it? Isn't that the weirder part about it? But where we got to start is we had shenanigans last night in Monday Night Football. We had a double dip, 2 Monday night games last night.
And they were both drunk.
In totally different ways.
You had your tequila drunk and you had your whiskey drunk.
But Tommy Cutlets, we got wine drunk in the Meadowlands, and it was fantastic to see. And a new American hero has emerged. Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
Okay.
I mean, what would you call it?
I guess being wildly drunk can at times be entertaining. It's the aftermath that's that you have to pay for. Because both those games were wildly drunk.
Yeah, I mean, you had 2 games that had game-winning drives at the end, and one had
You got there in ways that didn't make a ton of sense.
One had a nearly historic comeback with the Tennessee Titans erasing a 14-point hole with under 3 minutes to play.
255.
And that, I think, that was wildly entertaining to see. On one hand, you had Miami in an inability to move the ball as effectively as we've come accustomed to seeing because of the fact that you have Tyreek Hill out or limited. Mm-hmm. When he went down, it was, again, another hip drop tackle where he got rolled up on, and he went out with that ankle, and it was like, uh-oh, what is this going to look like? And the Dolphins and Tua looked human again.
Do you think that was more a wheels fall off situation when Tyreek went down, or do you think that's more of a scrambling to try to find a different version of their game plan?
No, I think it's wheels falling off. It's not the scramble, because if you look at when he came back in their second possession of the third quarter, right? And from when he left the game until when he came back, they didn't score. They had a field goal in the second and third quarters combined. That's not Miami that we know of. And then just having his presence on the field, they score 17 points in the fourth quarter, right? I mean, having his just the eyes that he attracts, even in a limited sense, it means a lot. Now,
I say that all just to kind of set up the value of Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill's value is, I think we are now in a conversation where we can actually have a conversation of, is this the year that you go, all right, we're not going to give the MVP to a quarterback? Because every quarterback has looked human over these stretches, whereas we have seen the value of Deebo Samuel when he gets hurt,
Tyreek Hill
in San Francisco, Tyreek Hill when he gets hurt,
Trent Williams,
and just how different that you're never going to get an offensive line.
I know, but I think you can point to quarterback play has been very good this year. But there isn't a single quarterback running away. Herbert's been shut down for the season, and they were bad to begin with. Allen has been up and down. Mahomes really has only had 2 games where you're like, oh, that's Patrick Mahomes. Otherwise, it's been just very good.
And you have, TJ Watt has been really good, but he's dinged up now, and he's not even leading the league in sacks, even though he's one of the most dominant players. But you look at guys like Deebo and Tyreek Hill, and you can draw a line to when they are on the field and when they are off the field.
And how successful their teams are.
What those teams look like. And they do not look, even in San Francisco, where you have still got Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, and Brandon Ayuk, they don't look the same without Deebo on the field. Miami has got a wealth of talent around Tua. It's not the same without Tyreek Hill on the field. I will say that if we can talk about a guy at the quarterback position, and I know that Brock Purdy and Dak Prescott are your odds-on favorites for the MVP right now, but I mean, you look at Lamar Jackson is putting together a pretty damn good year himself. He may have the best team in the entire AFC, but again, he's not going to be a guy that throws for 4,000 yards. He's not going to be, his rushing yards this year are a little bit more limited than what they have been in years past. I want to check to see what his rushing yards look like compared to years past.
He was trailing his pace the last time I checked a couple weeks ago by a couple hundred yards.
He's at 644 through 13 games. And to put that in perspective, he ran for 767 through 12 games in 2021 and then 764 in 12 games last year.
Yeah.
And that is
behind the pace.
But that's Todd Monken saying, hey, you want to be a quarterback? Yeah. We got some more weapons for you. We're going to go ahead and we're going to let you throw a little bit, because if you look at it, he's played 13 games this year. He's already at dang near 3,000 yards, and he only has one 3,000-yard season in his entire career, and that was a 15-game season where he threw for 3,100 yards. So, I mean, think of that. I mean, in 2019, he rushed for 1,200 yards, threw for 3,000 yards. That was his MVP.
Coward.
Year, right? This year, you're looking at it, if in the final 4 games of the season, he could be nearing 1,000 yards again, I don't think he'll get there
I don't think so either,
because just the way they're using him and the way they'll pull the reins back.
especially going into the playoffs.
But you could see him throw for, a career high. And if you also look at it, I mean, he's got 6 interceptions. He's not turning the ball over at an incredible rate, though, this year. So Lamar Jackson should be in that conversation.
For sure.
But honestly, we should look at Debo
And
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Their value is immeasurable to those offenses and what they bring from a receiver and just a threat at any given time.
Yeah, I think it's more than just because I've seen the argument made by people who I don't know how they come to this. Like, well, Debo doesn't, he's not your traditional wide receiver. Neither is Tyreek Hill. It's like, yeah, that's the point, is that you don't just throw them the ball. Yeah. You don't just split them out, or you don't just put them in the slot. You put them all over the place. You put them in the backfield. You put them in motion. You run them on screens. You run them on shovel passes. You run them on reverses. You run laterals, do flea flickers. Like, you do everything with them because of how uniquely talented they are and how absolutely dynamic they are in the open field when they get the ball, and how much attention you must pay to them. They are very unique weapons. And it's so interesting in a world where we talk about how much space you need to cover and how big somebody is or how fast somebody is, that two guys that aren't enormous receivers, or the jitterbug blur offense like the Anthony Thomas that never last the NFL, but they're kind of gimmicky because they're just not big enough. There's this new area, I think, that this weaponized thing of like 5'10" to 6 foot wide receivers that have this certain set of tools. Now, those two guys do it the best of anybody, but you also have guys who, Jalen Waddle is kind of a version of that. Devonta Smith is kind of a version. They're tangential to it. They're not the same.
Yeah, I don't think they're anywhere close to being the same, because those guys are like the Waddles and anybody else except for Debo and Tyreek. And this is the thing too, is
they
that
don't have the additional
Debo and
stuff.
Tyreek are unique in that they are built way differently.
They're solid. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's just not too many of those guys that you have in that world, where you have that world-class speed and agility and the ability to make people miss, but also that sturdiness, that balance, that the ability to play in those in-between spaces and not get murdered.
I mean, Debo is every bit of 6 foot, 215, and Tyreek Hill is 5'10", and he's listed at 191.
He looks bigger than that.
It is the build of those two guys that makes him so different than a Devontae Smith, than any receiver that's out there, and it allows them to be multidimensional in the offense, because there is a legitimate threat of them running the ball when they motion them back into the backfield, and then the binds that it puts a defense in. I will tell you, as good as Brock Purdy is, as good as Tua is this year, and Brock Purdy is getting those MVP. I mean, he's getting a ton of MVP hype, and you know what? He's putting up monster numbers and in a monster offense. But when you go from an empty formation and you go with Christian McCaffrey and Debo Samuel out on the outside, and then you have the ability to motion or shift both of those guys back into the backfield and have a legitimate running threat with each of those guys, and then one of them could be going out and running a swing to the other side on a play fake, it puts a defensive coordinator in an absolute bind. Like, there's nothing that you can call that is going to be the right play, because they can go from empty, spread you out. We got to be ready to be threatened vertically because they are great wide receivers. Or guess what? Motion them both back into the backfield, and you got to be ready for them to pound the ball down your damn throat, and using George Kittle as a lead blocker. Like, what do you do with that? What do you do as a defense? And that is what makes them so special. And then on top of that, like Tyreek, and I hope this injury, he rolled his ankle, and I know he was able to come back in spurts, but not be himself. You sit there and you look at him and you go, man, that guy's on pace for 2,000-yard receiving season. So it's like they're used as decoys, but when they have multiple sets of eyes on them on the field every play, they're still getting there.
Still getting done.
That is the craziest part about it. And like, I am not a fan of Tyreek Hill, the dude.
No.
But the player is an MVP
Truly
caliber.
transcendent.
He is an MVP caliber player. And I think that may be the one thing that holds him back is that the league and the voters for the MVP award are going to sit there and look at him and go, no, I just don't. I do not like him as a person.
Do you think that this kind of started when you saw Cordell Patterson and then Montgomery went from wide receiver to running back, where you kind of saw this this kind of hybrid wide receiver running back position start to become a bit more of a thing, and then you get Debo and Tyreek, who are so unique that you start going, well, you get two coaches like McDaniel and Shanahan who go, ooh, something shiny to play with.
Yeah, I think it is the evolution of the spread offense being integrated into the NFL and that trickle up that we've slowly seen from high school into smaller divisions of football and then up into the NFL. And that's the way football does work. It is a trickle up because of the fact that you have got to train the athletes and they have to have that skill set aware. We're seeing it now with, defensive backs in the way they hit and tackle, right? Mm-hmm. It took them a long time to go from the days of Ronnie Lott, where everything is, you're launching upwards and you're taking somebody out the head, to the hits that we're seeing now. It took 8 years to cycle through that. It does take time, and that's why trickle up happens, is that you have they start learning it in high school and college, and then by the time they get to the NFL, it is, all right, we're going to ingrain our NFL principles in everything that we do that is between the ears, your mastery level of what football is. And then, oh, by the way, all this stuff that you've become accustomed to using, we're going to use that too. And that's where you see guys like Shanahan and McDaniel just expose every single element of every offense. Like they have in a single play, you'll see, variations of, the run and shoot, the air raid, and then by the way, you have Kyle Juszczyk that Shanahan will use, and they'll run those principles with the fullback, and they'll still run the ball down your throat. What do you do?
I think it's more the evolution in the coaching. Like everyone talks about the evolution in the players, but I mean, can you imagine, going back, taking what you know now about how football is run, especially offensively, and you go back 10 to 15 years from now? I mean, we're not that far removed from Adrian Peterson getting 25 to 30 carries a game because that's just what you did.
Yep.
So I think not only is there a little bit of an evolution in the players, but there's an evolution in the imagination in a lot of these offensive coordinators and in a lot of these head coaches. There's a reason right now a lot of these head coaches in college football and in the NFL are in their 30s and young 40s. There's a reason why a lot of people are going like, wow, the old coaches are gone and they keep going with the young pups. Well, it's because they haven't really been told no, or haven't been told like, hey, that this won't work, or they've been able to figure out ways for it to work. I mean,
it's embracing that evolution of the trickle up, right? Because the old heads were so unwilling to do it that if you look at it, like guys that have always changed the game and the way that people have thought about it have come from lower levels and boom, rise up the ranks, right? Bill Walsh, San Jose State and Stanford, and he comes up in the West Coast offense in the NFL. You look at whether it's guys like Mike Leach, who died a year ago today, R.I.P. Mike Leach. But he started at an NAIA school in, Iowa Wesleyan, where him and Hal Mumme invented the air raid offense, right? They were GAs at BYU together, but it was like nobody's going to just say, all right, we're going to start running your stuff. Go ahead. They had to develop it at the NAI level, and it trickled up. You look at Rich Rodriguez and the spread offense, where he started running it at Valdosta State in Georgia, D2 program. And then all of a sudden it starts trickling up and permeating up through the ranks, and now you see it in the NFL. It's taken 30 years for that to happen for the spread offense. Like, it's crazy, but it takes people to actually buy in. I think to Will's point, that's where you see these younger coordinators, the vernacular, the concepts,
they're ingrained with those systems.
What they know.
Yeah, and then you get a guy like McDaniels who, he's with the Browns and he's doing things differently there on his own, where he's able to put his own twist, his own spin. He's allowed to experiment, and then he's allowed to work under Shanahan and develop his own unique thoughts and processes and skills. And you saw it. And there's multiple players across the board who, before he became a head coach, who all said that guy's he's got it. He understands and how to develop and how to process and how to build and how to tweak. And you're seeing it all kind of come to fruition.
And there's also, the older guys who are always willing to adapt. And the Vancouver Ford text line 503-864-6326 says actually Andy Reid and the Chiefs offense developed this model. They're one of them. They're one of many. Well, they're one of many that have embraced it. And you sit there and Andy Reid, that's one thing that he has always done is he's always been willing to learn and take advice. Like there's the famous janitor story where he's even taking advice from janitors. But Tyreek Hill and that value, oh boy. I think we really do need to start having that conversation. A position player for the MVP this year. We didn't even talk about the winner of that game, though.
No, we really didn't even cover that game. We should probably cover the games.
How about Will Levis, man? Huh? Let's talk some Will Levis. Mayo in his coffee. Here's Will with SportsCenter. are struggling when they lose their star, right? Like,
I saw what you did there. You let that song play.
oh, Hootie?
Yeah, I saw what you did there.
You're damn right. I love.
That's a great song.
Well, the Dolphins make me cry. Yeah, I love Darius Rucker. And did you hear that Tua playing the guitar on the Manning cast?
Oh,
Darius-
Tears in Heaven? Yeah.
Darius Rucker and Tua going to do a collaboration
Little jam?
together. Yeah, they're going to do a collab together, which the Dolphins make him cry.
There you go.
Go win a Super Bowl, and you could have Tua playing the guitar with Darius Rucker.
This is going to sound so weird. There's a lot of Samoan dudes that I know that can, number one, play the living hell out of the guitar.
Yeah.
But two, my God, can they sing?
Yeah, they have voices of angels.
Good Lord.
They do.
It's
I'm
absolutely
with you on
incredible.
that.
You're like, how does this massive human being have this, like, a voice that ascends to heaven?
Yeah, one of my favorite teammates
Unreal.
in college is Fiama'a Fili'u'ulu. He was a guy that he transferred in. He from Utah.
Oh, no way.
He was really good. Coincidentally, he was married to Jimmy Superfly Snuka's daughter. Yeah.
Okay.
Was she Superfly?
Yeah, she was awesome.
Super duper fly.
But Feely, in his like time in between Utah and coming to Southern again, he was a performer at Luau's and stuff. He did like fire dancing. And so he came in and he didn't have to do the rookie show because I don't know, he's like 26. No, he wasn't that old. But we all call him Dad. But he came in, he did like the fire dancing with and I was like, what the hell is it? Like, this is crazy. And then he started singing and he could sing like an angel. It was like, God, you're so talented. So many Polynesian dudes can hit the high notes. It's incredible. It's incredible.
I derailed this again.
Yeah.
Will Levis.
Yeah, he can't fire dance. He can't even prepare coffee properly.
No, he can't.
But at the same time,
Man can throw a foosball.
he had a damn drive. And
Super jacked quarterback, actually good.
he put his team in a couple of binds, like the ill-advised throw that ended up in an interception for a touchdown that kind of got batted up in the air and then right in the arms of a defender, and then fumbling the ball on his own 12-yard line. Like, those are the negatives that you sit there and you go, all right, you'll take it from a rookie if you can see the flashes like what we saw at the end of that game. And I find myself watching Will Levis and I'm going, okay, whatever it is, he may have it. You know, that it factor that is hard to quantify.
It's just, you just know it when you see it.
And there's a lot of quarterbacks that you can sit there and you say, you have to squint, or, hey, you can develop it.
The Pickett's and the Trubisky's and the world that we've seen over the last couple of years, and hell, Desmond Ritter, like, you see like a little flashes, like,
Yeah.
But with Levis, you look at it, CJ Stroud, when you look at it, you go, yep, that's it.
Yeah.
It's there.
And you can see, but there's other guys that you could see the growth. You're looking for the signs of growth over their rookie year or first couple years in the league. Jordan Love is a great example of that, right? Like, Jordan Love was awful in the first half last night.
But he didn't suck the whole game.
No, and you still see a guy that you're like, all right, if you can get rid of and the ball just he threw an interception that was it was a risky throw to begin with, but then it looked like the ball just kind of slipped out of his hands, and that was a bad pick. Bad pick. Like, it was a bad decision, even if you have a perfect dot that you put on the receiver. But it was almost like, did he want to not throw that ball? Is that why it slipped out? Because the safety was like, mine. But with Will Levis, you see a guy that command is everything when you walk into a huddle as a rookie, right? You have that command.
They trust in him.
He's got that little bit of dog in him that you're like, okay, I see it. In efficiency at the end, control of the game in the moment not being too big when you are down 2 scores at the end of the game. Now, a lot of things had to break their way.
Sure. But when they did, he was there.
You're damn right. And those are the signs where you're like,
Control what you can control, and when it comes your turn, do something with it.
is he going to be a guy that they can surround with enough talent is always going to be the question, right?
Because he's doing this. I mean, look, D-Hop is long in the tooth.
Yeah.
But he's relying on him. He is still able to break coverage occasionally, but Levis does have the arm, and my God, does the man have an arm to throw him open and put the ball in spots.
And when you see a guy like Will Levis, I think that you get a guy, and when pressure comes and the pocket is starting to collapse around you, the panic that you see in quarterbacks, his eyes are always downfield.
He stays in there, man.
And
maybe too much.
He's a tough son of a bee. He's a tough son of a gun, man. And he takes some shots that you're going to want to be like, hey, pull the reins back. You're not going to be 24 your whole career.
You're not Ben Roethlisberger. You can't shake all those off.
But I'm picking up what Will Levis is putting down. And I love Mike Vrabel too.
He's honestly who reminds me of. He reminds me of Ben.
Yeah, except for not like Michelin Manny.
Yeah, no, but
he's
I
not
mean, like,
fat.
but
He's cut Ben Roethlisberger.
Too cut.
Part of Ben Roethlisberger, have you seen like the AI creation or the scientists have created the human being that could survive a car crash? Have you seen that?
Oh, yeah.
You seen that guy? That is Ben Roethlisberger is that, but it's like this is the quarterback science is made to withstand any hit.
Any and all hits. Yes. You're not wrong.
He just kind of gets hurt a little bit, but
yeah, a little banged up here or there.
Yeah.
But Levis stands in there like, and it's not statuesque in the sense of like he can't move because the kid's athletic.
Yeah.
Dude, this combine tape was pretty damn impressive. But he just stands in there and bounces off guys, keeps his eyes downfield. Like you said, you can just see something different with him. The moment doesn't look too big. He doesn't look rushed. He doesn't look panicked. And it's a very rare thing for a rookie to look that composed.
yeah.
Even if he make mistakes like the throw that he made that ended up going into a pick six, those are decisions that are rectifiable because that's a process thing.
Yeah.
That's not a feel thing.
I'll tell you what, teams feed off of that young guy too, as silly as it sounds, that you saw him at the end of the game and it was like, the game's not over. We're down by 14 with 2:53, I think is when they snapped the ball.
The letdown wasn't there.
There was no bit of him that was like, no, we're not going to. So you make those mistakes. You have that interception early. You have that fumble late. But when you have that guy that has that command and control of even the vets, it goes a long way. And it's a silly thing, but it's true. And I think Brock Purdy has that. And I think that the 49ers also feed off of that as well. Like Brock Purdy, he is not the leader of that team, but he controls a lot of that energy
The juice.
that they have,
Yeah.
right? Where it's never too high, it's never too low. He can kind of hold that energy, and that's what you want out of a quarterback, especially in an offense like that.
They hold the reins. They know when to crack it, when to pull it back.
Yeah, this is a good text too. Levis reminds me of Justin Herbert a little bit. That come on the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. Your dollar goes further at Vancouver Ford. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit them online at vancouverford.com. Bought 2 cars or 3 cars from there. Love it. Love them. But I see that a little bit too. I see a little bit of that Justin Herbert in it where he's got that powerful arm. He's got that poise in the pocket. I will say, though, that Will Levis, that control of a huddle and control of veterans, I think he's got that a little bit more even than Justin Herbert does. But a good win for the Tennessee Titans. That Miami may have melted down, but you could see Tennessee was still playing like they've got a playoff spot on the line. And I'll be damned if the Tennessee Titans do have a lot to play for in these final 5 weeks of the season, because they have currently the second worst record in the AFC. 2 games out in playoffs.
Unbelievable. And
4 weeks to play.
We'll talk about this Giants game here in a little bit too. And you have the Giants now.
And they won on the road too. First road win in like
for the Titans this season.
A bajillion years.
Yeah.
Seems
The Giants though winning a game, sure it's fun. The Tommy DeVito story's fun and everything, but the Giants are playing themselves out of a quarterback in the draft, and it's absolutely hilarious.
First win over a year for Tennessee on the road. Yeah, November 17th of last year.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
And they're not a bad team.
Yeah. You speak of Tommy DeVito. We have another new hero next on The Fan.
talking about Tommy DeVito's agent, right?
Yeah, Sean Stellato is his name. Holy cutlets. That guy is straight out of Central Casting.
100%.
I'm not kidding when I say that I dedicated about an hour of my day, well, about a half hour last night, a half hour today, of just Sean Stellato research. The man is a damn icon right now. If you don't know who we're talking about, if you were watching Monday Night Football or you saw maybe on social media, the cutaways to the stands, and there was a guy who looked like he was straight out of the mafia, hugging and kissing Giants fans, that would be Tommy DeVito's family, and the man who looked like a mob boss in a black pinstripe suit wearing a turtleneck with a gold chain, a gold bracelet, and a fedora. That would be Sean Stellato, who Tommy DeVito dubbed the Italian stallion of sports agents.
Yeah. Yeah.
I found this out. He has a local connection.
No way.
Yeah. He is entering the National Italian American Sports Hall of Fame this week, which apparently is in Chicago. I didn't know that existed. But he is entering the Hall of Fame for Italian Americans sports. And because he's been a longtime agent, like it isn't just Tommy DeVito's his first agent. His list, I don't know if it qualifies as Hall of Fame worthy. His client list is Alfred Morris.
Okay.
That's a name.
That's a good name.
We recognize.
Yeah. Got a real deal.
Yep. Former Lions running back Sean Drone.
Okay.
Eagles defensive end Brian Bramman. Don't know who that is. Former Seahawk corner Ty Smith. Former Niner and Panther defensive end Ryan Dallaire. But he also represented the pride of West Salem High School. Former Patriots punter Ryan Allen.
There you go.
He was his agent. So that's his client list, and that gets you into the Italian American Sports Hall of Fame.
I like it.
Well, there's
think
not a lot of great Italian American athletes.
You sure about that?
Yeah, if he's getting into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, is Brian Scalabrine in the Italian American Hall of Fame?
And what are we
need to put
counting
him
here?
in.
Like, because are we counting like quarter, half, full? Because that is where it's going to change. Because you gave me a look right there. And when you gave me that look, Danny, it really does matter if it's quarter, half, or full.
How about Joe DiMaggio?
I would say that would be a good one.
Mike Piazza?
Yeah,
Mike Piazza.
Mike Pizza's pretty good, but Joe DiMaggio
Most of them I
played
feel
when
are going to be
plumbers
baseball
and
players.
Yeah,
roofers.
it's a
Yeah, you
ton
take that
of
back there, this young Sparky.
I will not.
You take that back.
Much like his love for Marilyn Monroe, I won't take it back.
What you need to do now, did you brush up on your John Stockton last night? Much like your white scrappy point guards and how cheap and dirty they are as players, you need to put some respect on Joe DiMaggio's
I
name.
refuse. He played in like what, the 50s?
Okay, what about the guy named Joe Montana?
He's Italian? Mm-hmm. Joe Montana? Joe Montana?
See, and here,
Yeah.
see,
Joe Montana
I want a
is
23andMe.
we're gonna see.
We're gonna 23andMe these people.
I didn't know Montana was Italian. I would have never.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I didn't know.
I'm Gino Auriemma at UConn.
He should be in there.
Yeah, no, that's fair. He is definitely Italian.
Yeah.
Is Big Dom in there?
Big Dom should be in there.
He has to
the
be.
security
Yogi
guard.
Berra. Again, baseball.
Yeah, that baseball's littered.
Baseball's little.
Yeah.
Mary Lou Retton.
She's Italian?
Yeah, I remember her having an Italian flag on something once.
What?
I thought she was American.
she
She
is.
was in the Olympics.
She's
Italian
America's
American.
She's America's darling.
Yeah.
Mary Lou Retton
A
is.
lot of coaches. Calipari.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So then again, I stand by
Calipari, Patino.
not a lot of great athletes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Colangelo's.
Yep. All right. And that's naming Italians.
There you go.
But
I could do that for a while.
I'm all in on everything that is Tommy DeVito and what's going on with the New York Giants, though. Because are the Giants good? Absolutely not. Is Tommy DeVito like a career starter? No, he's not. He's not. But he is making a name for himself. And in New York, right in the backyard, in the shadows of where he grew up, I think that's an awesome story. And for a stopgap, hell yeah. Give me more Tommy DeVito.
Keep winning games and playing yourselves out of your next quarterback,
do
Giants.
you see what his family did yesterday before the game?
No.
His dad put together a tailgate that fans could go to where he said, it's going to be craziness. We're going to give them Italian theater they've been asking for. 300 chicken cutlets, Italian sandwiches, baked ziti, sausage and peppers, rice bowls, everything Italian. I love baked ziti too. I'm going to have my guys setting up the sandwiches with Italian headbands on. We got Italian flags with Tommy's picture on it. They've been begging for it. We're going to give it to them.
I love it.
And they gave it to them.
Fully leaning in.
And engineering the game-winning drive, having a run to set up the go-ahead touchdown where if it wasn't for Wan'Dale, Robinson? If it wasn't for him getting in the way, he would have scored on that. Like everything was just like setting up to be like the
New York
Italian zone is coming.
You know what this is? This is Linsanity, but for the Giants.
Absolutely, and they want it so desperately. And this totally went right past me. Tommy DeVito is the name of Joe Pesci's character in Goodfellas.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That's the name of Joe Pesci's character is Tommy DeVito.
A great Italian.
Wow.
A great New York Italian right there.
Joe Pesci.
Joe Pesci. Tommy DeVito. All right, 503-864-6326. That's a Vancouver Ford text line. Let's change gears really quick because I think we may have seen someone turn the corner next on The Fan.
As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot.
at 1080thefan.com or right there in the Odyssey app, right in your handheld device, wherever you
That
may
way
be
you
listening.
catch up on me just saying Italian names.
That's right. We were talking Italians at the end. Whether you're listening or watching, youtube.com/1080am the fan, where you can see Will Ortner wearing his Central Washington University football jersey.
For the kids.
It is
always,
for the
you
children.
always leave that part out.
It is for the children.
I did it for the kids. And if you make fun of me, you're making fun of children.
I'll make fun of you and children. I have 2 kids of my own. You have no idea.
But you won't make fun of other people's children.
I feel like that's half the fun.
I mean,
Well,
There's
that's
some.
when the other parents come out.
yeah,
They
you're
attack.
right on that. You're right. Their attack mode is very real. It's very real. Blazers lost last night on the road against the Los Angeles Clippers. And it was a high-scoring affair. Another entertaining basketball game by the Portland Trail Blazers. They lose 132-127. They knew the assignment. Play really hard, make it a close game, and then fall at the end. But the thing that I've been watching and kind of seeing, we've seen it grow in front of our very own eyes. Shaden Sharp, man, looks like he has turned a corner. And over the last 5 games, he has had 27, 24, 26, 25, 29 points, all while shooting right around 50% from 3 and looking far more comfortable in his own skin. And I think the most impressive thing that we've seen over the last couple of games, especially, is that nothing seems to be slowing him down now that Anthony Simons is back in the lineup. He actually looks just as comfortable,
Look, I'd argue, he
if
looks,
not more.
I'd argue he looks better.
Yeah.
And that's because Anthony Simons is back. And he is taking eyes off of Shaden Sharp. He is allowing him to attack, I don't know, maybe a switch with a very tall white dude
White guy.
where he can
Daniel Tyson
send him into another dimension
Puts
of
him
the
on
step back.
his butt.
I mean, that's the thing, is that this was what was supposed to happen this year. Coming into the season, I said I would prefer to start Ant Shaden and let Scoot come off the bench. And people got very mad at me because, how can you not start the number 3 overall pick? Well, the number 2 overall pick wasn't starting. So that's how. It's very simple. When they're not ready to, and the guy in front of them is very, very, very much better, you don't start him. And that's because you need to let these things kind of figure themselves out. And this is how it pertains to Shaden. Shaden had to take over those reins as a point guard. He was the least efficient pick and roll guard in the NBA with volume as the primary ball handler.
That doesn't seem good, Bob.
It did not go well.
No.
That's why they had Skylar Mays, was to take him out of those duties because he just wasn't ready for them yet. It's entirely okay. Number one, it's not who he is. Ant is a 1-2 who has more 1 tendencies. Shaden is a 2-3. If you squint and you have everybody else is super big, I still don't like it, but he's almost as much of a throwback 2 as it gets. He's much more Brandon Roy in his abilities and skills, where he can work on ball. Don't get me wrong. He can hezzy tween. He can get some guys. But he's not going to trigger your offense every single time down. And he works incredibly well coming off motion, coming off pin downs, coming off handoffs, on actions where he can attack a defense either on a second side or against a defense that's moving. Since Anthony Simons has come back, Shaden Sharp is shooting 50, 46, 74.
Okay. And again, very small sample size. What, 2 games now?
Three
games.
games.
3 games now.
But he's averaging 26, 6, and 5 on insane shooting splits. And the big part of that is he's working on the other side of the ball where he doesn't have to just burn through energy the entire game. And he can pick and choose his spots because Ant is dictating coverages every single time down the floor.
It's the fun part about what we're seeing, and like we've talked about this, and that like this Blazer season and reframing kind of how we address the Blazers, watch the Blazers, and take everything in. It's about those little signs of growth, and it's not overreacting to one game of him playing well. Right now, we have a 5-game sample size where he's averaging 26, 6, 5, and he's making 4 threes a game. In those, albeit small sample size, you're starting to see a level of comfort with Shaden Sharp. We're not going to overreact to what was the best night of his career in Scoot Henderson, looking more comfortable a little bit.
It's much more promising, but the ball going in was a big part of that.
Knocking down open shots is something that we haven't seen, but that's not something that, acknowledge it, tip of the cap. It was a great game for Scoot Henderson. But at the same time, you sit there and you look at, all right, string some of those together, and then we start talking about what is the growth that we're seeing from Scoot Henderson. We're seeing that with Shaden Sharp. We've seen that with Anthony Simons, both before he got injured last year and then when he got injured game 1 of this year. Mm-hmm. We're getting that sense of what Anthony Simons is, and it's pretty damn good.
In 3 games, again, super small sample size.
Very small.
It's 32, 5, and 3.
But I think the one thing that kind of sticks out is that what Shaden Sharp and Anthony Simons are doing in the absence of DeAndre Ayton and Jeremy Grant, it won't get bogged down when those guys return. No. And that's like it's not a wholly hero ball style of play. Are they getting a lot of shots? Yeah, they are.
Because they have to, because they don't have DeAndre, they don't have Jeremy, they don't have Malcolm. Those guys are going to cut into those shots. There's no doubt about that.
But it is, all right, can you see what we're seeing without them when they come back? And it is reasonable that, when you have Malcolm Brogdon, DeAndre Ayton, and Jeremy Grant on the floor, stylistically, it will be helpful to them. But I think not that their numbers are going to improve, but it'll be relatively the same. And I think those are those signs of growth that you can look for in a season like this of, all right, how are they addressing the woes that those young guys do have? And we're seeing immense growth out of Shaden Sharp this year, and not a fall off coming off the injury from Anthony Simons. And all those things, those 2 things are good for a promising future. It's just you've got so far to go in every other aspect, because what we saw last night was my favorite player on this team right now is Toumani Camara. He had a rough go of it last night.
No, I think he was fine last night. It was the night before, really. I think you saw him more in the role that he should be, where his shots were significantly more limited.
Yeah.
Where when he was in a spot where a team was probably baiting him to shoot, instead of like, all right, I'm going to take the shot, he puts the ball back down, either attacks the closeout, puts the defense in rotation, or looks for Ant and Shaden and gets immediately into a dribble handoff and kind of re-triggers the offense.
I was talking on the other end of the floor where you were looking at it, the wily old veterans that the Clippers have offensively.
Kawhi is a different beast.
They put him in they put him in a blender a few times, and you could see there's a few times where he was looking like there's one where he took a charge and it wasn't called, and he got up like, dude, I just got mowed over, and the official was like, welcome to the NBA.
He also did draw one late that led to a turnover. I thought he acquitted himself well, particularly against Kawhi and PG, who he's picking up over and over and over again. Look, you saw Kawhi last night as old Kawhi. People were like, why are the Blazers running this coverage or that coverage? And I'm like, because they want Kawhi to be the one to beat them.
That's crazy.
It's not, though, because Kawhi's
I know it's crazy to think about that. Kawhi Leonard
because you want him to be the guy because he's going to get his no matter what when he's healthy.
Well, he did.
Yeah, but you know what we didn't get? We didn't get a Paul George takeover. You didn't get a James Harden takeover. You didn't get one of those weird Westbrook games or a Norman Powell game. They were all good, but you didn't have those other guys have the other 35-point game alongside Kawhi that breaks teams. And the Blazers were there down the stretch. The problem was they ran out of gas because they're missing 3 guys.
Well, and I also think that it's a bigger signal of what the Clippers are right now as opposed to what the Blazers are.
Oh, 100%. This is, again, the same kind of situation where
they're grinding out wins against the Blazers.
The Warriors. Remember that the Warriors beat the Blazers, and there were some folks in Golden State that were kind of celebrating the win, and it was like the only people who should be feeling remotely okay about this game were the Blazers.
Yep. Yeah, and then here come the text on the Vancouver Ford text line, and here we go down the road of 3 guards again. Look, guys,
folks,
the roster makes
years of this.
The roster makes so much more sense when you have Jeremy Grant and DeAndre Ayton is one thing, and then they're not trying to sell us that this is a competitive roster right now.
No, and here's the big thing. I wrote about this. The latest thing up on my Patreon right now is that this is Anthony Simons' team right now. And it's exactly the way it should be, because the Blazers need to take a look at this and be certain, because if Anthony Simons, he's already showing one more gear. If he has another gear, you're not talking about all-star. You're talking about like all-star, superstar type stuff. Like Dustin, he's looked pretty good, and he's averaging 32.
Yeah.
Okay. If the efficiency comes up even more,
It's got to for him to take that step.
but I mean, his efficiency right now is already above average
yeah, and that's
for this. And if the efficiency goes back to kind of what we've seen from him in the past, and these numbers stay up here, you're talking about one of the best offensive engines in the entire league.
And I don't want anybody that is listening to get what Danny just said is misconstrue it for like all of a sudden this Blazers team is ready to pounce.
This is
They're
just
not.
understanding one piece of all of this.
Yeah, so it was a fun game. And look, they are fun to watch right
And
now.
they're in basically every single game, even when they're out of it, which they looked like they were going to be against the Clippers in the first quarter.
Yep. We've gone from betting unders to bet overs now.
I told you when they were healthy, that was what I was going to do, because Vegas was going to get them wrong over and over again. But then they lost their entire backcourt for a month, and it was like, oh, bet the unders.
All right. Well, it's a fun game last night. Another fun game. Another fun game for the Blazers. And it really is. Keep your radars up, because it does look like Shaedon Sharpe is turning that corner for the better.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really fun to watch, especially alongside Anthony Simons, who's filling it up, dude.
Absolutely disgusting right now.
Filling it up. It's really fun to watch. All right, 503-864-6326. That is the Vancouver Forward text line, or chime in on the comments section of the YouTube stream, youtube.com/1080 AM The Fan. I have one more Monday Night Football left over for you guys. It was really tough to watch on the Manning cast. One of my favorite people. Very hard to watch, but he brought up a pretty good point. Danny and Dusty on The Fan. last night, and it was tough because
Tough watch?
oh yeah. His dad's a magician. He brought his dad on to do like a card trick, and at one point they like even cut away from the card trick. And I think one of the things that makes his stand up really funny is his delivery, because he's a Southern guy and he just like has that wholesomeness about him, and he's a little clean comedian. But it was a tough watch with the Mannings, because you got to carry it when you're with the Mannings, especially when they have a comedian on. But the Mannings are guys that they can riff off of you, but you got to just give them something. Mm-hmm. And I think they were like all three of them were waiting for the other to give them something to work with. Mm-hmm. There was one really good part though with Bargatze on there. They were talking about a backup center coming into the game for the Miami Dolphins, and Bargatze asked them, like, you just like basically pulling a guy out of the stands or something? Like, what's going on here with that comfort level? And it gave me something that I truly love, and I think it's something that we are going to be missing moving forward.
It's a comfort area. You don't want to go around that area with too many people, you know?
Yeah, you kind of want your hands to be for one set of butt cheeks, Nate, so you don't really want to, share that with several. So you try to stay loyal.
Could you blindfold and just have your hands under and tell who it is?
Yeah, 100%.
I could, for sure. I knew Jeff Saturday's butt cheeks as well as anybody. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think you ever want to you don't want to use blindfold and butt cheeks together very often. But
stop saying the word butt cheeks. It's bothering me.
That was the one redeeming quality. But as I watched it, I was like, you know what? We are losing a generation. We may lose it moving forward. It may go extinct.
Nobody going under center?
Yeah, having that connection with your center, because I can tell you this, every quarterback in center, they do know, any guy that's ever gone under center, you know which quarterback's hands are there and which center's butt cheeks that you are having your hand underneath at all times. And we're going to miss that now that everybody just goes in the gun all the time.
I never had that because I was a long snapper.
Okay.
It's a fun feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew whose hands were whose.
You do know, because
Some are colder.
every center will tell you.
Somebody had the thick fingers.
There's hand
Some are
warp
sweatier.
pressure, that the pressure that they are putting on
up.
your
taint.
Yeah.
Right.
No, you're good.
Taint's
That's
good.
But it is, every quarterback in center has that connection. And it's unlike anything in any other sport. Right? Like you have pitchers and catchers where they have that connection of, calling sides. It's nothing is more intimate than the quarterback in center and the connection that they have. And you always hear, like Justin Herbert had this when he went into the NFL. Taking a snap from under center was foreign to him. He didn't know how to do it. And centers do not like it. They will let you
don't know what you're doing back there. What? Hey,
whoa.
Right a little too high.
Yeah. Like, hey, that's a little too much there, pal. Or that's a little soft.
Yeah.
When I'm snapping.
I need you to get in there.
I'm getting that snap up there, and you need to protect me.
Yeah.
Too, right?
Yeah. That was, God, who was it? There was a quarterback that it was like one of the NFL films was talking to a new center. Oh, man.
Tom Brady and Ryan Jensen. Like, Ryan Jensen had to powder his butt a specific way for Tom Brady.
Yeah, because quarterbacks will complain if you're too sweaty. If you're too sweaty and you get up in there and you mess up the quarterback's grip, they're not going to go for that. We're missing that in the spread offense.
It's bothering me who it was, but
it's a connection.
It was the quarterback was like, it was a new center, and he like got mad at him. He's like, I want you to. No, it was Rodgers. It was Rodgers in New York. He goes, I'm going to have my hand in there, man. I want you to fire that thing.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't want it soft.
No.
It was in the Hard Knocks. I remember him saying, I want you to fire that thing up in there. And I was like,
To this day, the funniest football story I've ever been a part of. One of our centers got food poisoning in this white jersey.
Oh no.
And got hit in the stomach. First play of the third quarter.
Oh no.
And there was a part of his
Were
pants.
you wearing white pants too?
I was not this center. Yes, they were wearing white pants.
Well, I was saying
Well,
as the general, was the team wearing white
Everyone
pants?
else was wearing white pants. His
Everyone
were
but
brown.
Will.
Oh, that's tough, man.
His were brown.
That's
and it
a
was
tough
very
look.
obvious.
And
I should have worn
do you
the
guys
brown
go under
pants.
center? Did you have to go under center?
that team went under center about 50-50.
No, you can't do it. As a quarterback, I'm exclusively in the gun.
Yeah, that's a change of pants situation.
I know a guy who had like Taco Bell bean and cheese burrito like before the game, and he got hit in the stomach.
Who did he hate?
And it went
Himself?
out. It went out. He just threw up all over. When I say all over the guy that tackled him.
Oof.
Yeah, like it, and it was just like, why in the world would you do that? And the psycho had onions in his bean and cheese.
Oh
burrito.
no! Who keeps him in?
I don't know anybody. Well, I know him. Who orders the bean and cheese burrito from Taco Bell
keeps
and
the
says,
onions in.
"No, keep the onions"? It's like
It's the
no onions.
stankiest,
Why do you have to do that?
crunchiest, thickest. I've ordered it with no onions and bitten in and gotten the onions before, and when you do, it's like biting into an apple.
Yeah.
Like onion. It's just like
Can't do it, man.
crunch, crunch, crunch.
Can't do it.
Now, speaking of crunch, well, the Italian Olympic Committee might be under the crunch as they apparently can't count. But first, we'll get to Will Ortner with a Sports Center update. so much for the country of Italy, because there are now reports coming out that Italy might need help hosting the Winter Olympics. They under budgeted by over $100 million.
Wait, say that again?
They under budgeted by over $100 million for the construction of these sledding events.
Okay, now that you put this in Olympic terms, yes, I know several countries that are broke boys because the Olympics are the most corrupt. Like FIFA, take a seat. It is the IOC as the most corrupt organization in the world.
The Yakuza are ashamed.
Like, my goodness, the way that and they're starting to realize, like, wait a minute, maybe we shouldn't hold countries hostage after seeing all of the Olympic venues in every single Brazil, Greece, China, which basically built everything up, and they're like, need the space, tear it all down. It's like, it's just wastes of money. Russia got the Olympics for God's sakes and cheated their balls off, and now you have Russia can't compete in the Olympics because Ukraine, but they also cheated their asses off, and the IOC's like, you know what though? Their athletes can still participate in the games. What's the point of not letting Russia compete in the Olympics?
They just won't be recognized.
Yeah. Guess what? Everybody's like, as they're winning gold medals, they're like, this is an
Sergei Ivanov from
competing under the the Olympic Federation flag.
Yeah.
They are Russian. It's like, we all know, what are we doing here?
Nobody forgets.
But the way that the games are all handed out to different countries is just basically the biggest bribes.
It really should.
You want to know where that $100 million went?
Yeah. The subcontractor.
Who's on the IOC?
Yeah. And that's the thing is, I'm of the mind that it should alternate between basically like 4 countries.
Yeah.
If you want to make Greece one of them, because Athens, like,
sure,
the Marathon Olympics, that's where things came from. Great. Cool. They have the infrastructure now. It's totally cool. You don't have to build it back up. It's ready. Yeah. And then America, because the infrastructure is there. It's not a third world nation. If China wanted to keep their stuff.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
They're just like, nah, we're going to tear most of it down.
And you can't really do it in South America because it's criminal what was done to Rio.
Sure was.
So it's like,
this is not surprising one bit, but what do you do at this point? Because the Winter Games are next year, right?
Yeah, they're coming up 2024, because 2028 is the U.S.
No, that's summer. That's because you got 2024 Paris and then 2028
Oh,
summer.
so 2026 winter.
Okay.
Because the offset. COVID screwed this all up for me on the offset.
They really did.
But you've had 2026 Milan Winter Olympics, which I don't think of Milan in winter at all, but it does get snowy up there. But it does sound like one of the options is using Lake Placid, New York, as the site for the sledding events.
So they can't build their sledding
They
track?
don't have the money because the construction is estimated to be $160 million, and they budgeted for $60 million.
Well, what they should do is they should defer all the payments like the Dodgers did with Ohtani.
Does that work?
Yeah. That is the Olympics being corrupt. Hey, today in the Olympics being corrupt.
Yeah.
I find it really interesting that people cry. Like, I think that there's shenanigans with the Dodgers because they offered, $100 million more than anybody thought they were going to do Ohtani. But there's a lot of people that have issue with the deferred payments. I actually like the deferred payments with what the Dodgers are doing with Ohtani.
No, it's great. It's not great for Ohtani.
I wish
financially, because money in hand is better than money in the bush. But whatever.
I wish that, but I mean, he's guaranteed that he'll get that money from the Dodgers.
But the earlier you get money, the earlier money works for you. It's just basic principles.
He'll be okay.
He's entirely
making
fine.
$40 million in endorsements. He'll be okay. But the people have a problem with it because it's the Dodgers who will be able to spend about $25 million more a year because they still get hit with his contract going against them for 43
on the average,
so
based on how they deferred it.
They save $27 million that they can pay.
A significant amount of money.
But I think what baseball should do is I would love it if a team like, I don't know, the A's or the Pirates or the Reds that always cry poor, they were doing this with their contracts, right? The problem that I have is that it's the Dodgers that are doing it,
yes.
Right? They should make Major League Baseball, they should raise the salary floor for what teams spend.
Oh, you mean because the Oakland A's are only spending $36 million? Otherwise known as half of Ohtani's yearly contract.
So if you did a rolling average of the 5 highest payrolls in baseball, right? and you just average the 5 highest payrolls and you average them together and say,
You need to pay 70%
at a
of that.
minimum, 70% would be like a lot of money. But if you were to say, like, if you pay a third of that, you're still looking at like $70 million
You're still
payroll,
looking at
which
a pretty
is
significant increase.
Ohtani's annual contract.
Yes.
But you're sitting there and you're
Ohtani
like,
rule, I like
you
it.
can't do the Pirates, Reds, or A's thing. Don't do it. You're not poor. And
None
if
of
you
them
are
are.
too poor, sell the team.
Time to get out.
And that's where you have to make these decisions and you say, all right, we're actually going to bring teams with money.
I like where it's at, but
You should do that with Olympics too. Like you said, three countries should be able to host.
that's actually what's happening. Is the American, German, Austrian, and Swiss Olympic committees have been contacted. It's never no event has ever been held outside of another country's hosting grounds. Like you have various cities within a country that happens regularly, but not ever outside the country. But you do have, like I said, Austrian and Swiss, which are relatively close. That would make this doable and feasible. But be a little bit more interesting if they had to fly, I don't know, across the Atlantic Ocean to the U.S.
Olympics are so
to
dumb.
Lake Placid just to go be a Jamaican bobsled team.
I think the Olympics are dumb, but every time they come around,
Oh, you're suckered in.
I'm just red, white, and blue through
Are
and
you
through.
kidding
Like
me?
I am just like you cannot. I will know nothing about
whatever
sport.
story they're telling you, you are buying it hook,
Yeah.
line, and sinker.
And you know what? I'm going to take home ice into consideration
Yep.
when the Americans are going down the bobsleds in
Lake
Lake
Placid?
Placid because I'm like, they don't know.
They're familiar with the course.
They don't know. Yeah.
USA.
USA. USA.
It's
And
one of
they
the things that I just
Speaking
love
of great
doing at
Italian
home.
Americans, Mike Ruzioni.
Oh, I love Mike Ruziani.
There you go.
See,
One
I
of the
bet-
main characters in my favorite movie.
I bet he's in the
Miracle on
National
Ice?
Italian American Sports Hall of Fame in
He
Chicago,
should
Illinois.
be just for his celebration
Oh, he
after scoring that goal against the USSR.
He is. He's in the Italian American Hall of Fame.
He should be. He deserves. That is my
Yeah,
all-time
continue
sports
to-
jersey.
Really?
I want a
In
Mike
a
Ruziani.
Ruzioni Team USA jersey.
Yup.
You can get that one. I think Mitchell and
I'll
that.
trade in a Will Ortner Central Washington one for
You
it.
should get you should get your poopy centers jersey.
I don't need that. Shout out Josh Stoles.
Oh wow, throwing the
on
name out
blast.
there. Yikes.
It's okay, Danny. He's in the army.
Yeah. All of this is making more and more sense. Everything about this is
Dang,
making more
man.
and more sense. I don't.
That's really mean that you put him on blast and now I'm Googling him.
He went to Mountain View. He went to the same high school as Suk.
Now you're going to put it out there that like everybody is now going to know his bitness.
Well, look, I'm just saying Mountain View centers pooping themselves.
I think we can draw a correlation.
I'm pretty sure that just tells me that Suk pooped himself.
You're just doing the math. That's very rude.
The math is mathing.
I can't wait for you to show up to the tailgate at some point and you're going to be in your jersey and he's going to be like, Ortner, you, me, now.
I like it.
I'm much bigger than Stoles.
But he's in the army, so he's a trained killer now.
Well, unless he's driving jeeps.
If that's how I'm supposed to die, that's
And-
how I'm supposed to die.
Meanwhile, all you're fighting is Suk wanting to choke you out, which I don't know if that's
Still want to
like
pay to see it.
argumentative or some sort of fantasy, but it's one of the two.
It's definitely a
Suk
fantasy.
really wants it to happen.
It's definitely it's a fantasy. Not that it's a fantasy that it would happen. I do worry that he dreams about it.
Oh, he does.
He does. 100%.
Oh, he does. Yeah.
I can tell you what.
You don't want to be a part of those dreams either.
I can tell you what Chargers fans don't dream about. Their quarterback being shut down for the year. Justin Herbert is having season-ending surgery. What does that mean for him, the Chargers, and whatever else is going on in LA? We'll get to that and more coming up here on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. got to.
I thought you were gonna say for Bobby Womack. No.
No. I think he's done making hits.
Yeah, I think he is too.
He's probably super dead.
Woohoo. No.
Yeah.
Super dead?
Super dead.
All right.
Super dead?
You continue, and then I'll Google Bobby Womack, 2014,
Yes.
9 years ago.
Yeah, super dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I feel like he was old and even in his prime.
Sophomore year.
Good God. Don't do that to me right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. No, not letting that happen. Nope. What
2014.
What did happen is Justin Herbert got hit again, and Justin Herbert is now being shut down for the season.
This team is a disaster, man. And I mean, you quite literally from top to bottom, ownership on down to their roster, where you look at, they had all pros at every single level, and they just keep dropping like flies. I mean, Justin Herbert, he had the non-throwing hand finger injury, and then he has a finger injury on his throwing hand now where he's going to have to get surgery and he'll be out for the year. If there is no other reason to say this team needs a reset at head coach, it's not the gaze of Brandon Staley on the sidelines when something goes wrong and he's like, I don't know what to do. It is the fact that you just look at this team where Corey Linsley's done for the year in the starting center. He's out. They've lost they have two right tackles on the IR. And it appears that they have two right tackles on the IR because nobody can protect. And Justin Herbert breaking both of his fingers on helmets of guys flying by. Wonder why. He was getting lit up, and he was not playing well at the beginning of that game this weekend.
He wasn't
noted.
He really wasn't playing well, really, this year.
No.
In general.
Well, you just look at it. A team that is led by, and what a lot of it has to do with those injuries on the offensive line.
Sure.
It also has to do with a significant drop off from Austin Eckler at the running back position. Then you add on top of that, Mike Williams gets hurt. He's done for the year. Josh Palmer's been out. He's coming back. And now Keenan Allen is out with a heel injury. Then you have
Quentin Johnson hasn't been nearly as good as he's supposed to be.
Two tight ends being out. And it's just like their offense is sputtering. They scored in the fourth quarter of that game. That was just an absolute abomination against the Broncos. And it ended a streak where they hadn't scored a touchdown in 118 minutes of gameplay. The fourth quarter of a game.
God.
Yeah. 3 weeks ago was the last time they scored. They did not score a touchdown against the Patriots. They got 2 field goals and a 6-0 win. They went the entire game until like the 7.5-minute mark of the fourth quarter before they scored another touchdown, which was against the Broncos in mop-up duty. Like it was 17-7. It was 17-0 when they scored their first touchdown against Denver. Their offense is broken.
They're
legitimately
bad.
It's not just Kellen Moore's fault. They are broken, and you had a really damn good Justin Herbert still is a really damn good quarterback. But you take the weapons and you take a lot of them away. You take your offensive line and you replace. And look, that was a big problem with Miami last night. Like we're talking about Miami losing their juice when Tyreek went down.
They lost their starting center.
They had 3 offensive linemen, starters that were not playing in that game.
He's out for the season now.
That is a massive hit to Miami and what they're trying to do. Because offensive lines, you can't find guys off the scrap heap that are just going to be ready to play on your offensive
no way.
line.
You don't have a bunch of 6'5", 320-pound dudes
that move like dancing bears.
Yeah.
Also, in
a lot of
that
those guys don't
offense.
exist.
A lot in that offense too, with how
I would imagine it's mildly sophisticated.
I was going to say it's not necessarily the most complicated, but everything has to work in unison at the right moment. Right for it
There's
to
a
work.
lot of feel. There's a lot of.
It's a lot of chemistry.
Well,
It takes
it's
a long
chemistry
time.
when anytime you have like the Mike Shanahan zone blocking schemes, and then you add the gap schemes that McDaniel and Kyle Shanahan use so well and efficiently, and just kind of throwing wrinkles at defenses left and right.
It's trust.
Yeah, you don't have when you're missing 3 linemen. That is critical, and you're seeing. Like, that's a big problem with
But
the
even
Chargers.
early in the season when the Chargers were healthy, were they better? Yes. Were they good? No.
No, they're
Herbert wasn't
really
great,
poorly
really,
coached.
even to start the season.
He was. Well, I think he was playing well. I mean, there's individual games sprinkled in there. Justin Herbert was still really damn good. He's still really damn good. It is that when you have everything in the cluster F kind of coming together at once, good luck, man. I mean, you saw Easton Stick just getting absolutely pulverized by the Denver front seven. They're showing a replay right now on NFL Live where you literally had a left guard who's starting in the National Football League spinning around. He did 2 pirouettes and he was just beat off the line. Like he just spun around twice, like trying to find somebody to block. Had no idea where the defensive lineman was.
That is called a center field block, and that is used only in moments of emergency. It is your red nuke button.
Find him, find him, find him, find him.
He pushed it twice in one play.
Not good, Bob.
Not good, Bob. Not good. They are an absolute disaster from top to bottom in LA. And it sucks because we have a good quarterback who deserves better. And we see that a lot. We see that a lot in the NFL, but they need bigger changes than just Brandon Staley.
And maybe we'll touch on that coming up here next on 3 Up, 3 Down. It's Tuesday afternoon, the 2 o'clock hour. Coming up next here on Danny and Dusty, Danny the Fan. Cowboys. Dusty, what do you got?
I think I'm starting with my first up. I'm going to go. This pains me to say, them boys, the Dallas Cowboys, 5-game winning streak has given them a nice runway entering their toughest stretch of their season. They've won 5 games in a row by an average score of 23.5 points. They're not just beating teams, they're beating the brakes off them. And in the NFL, that is such a hard thing to do. And they started the first leg of what will be the toughest stretch of their season with an emphatic win over the Eagles, which Philly has their own issues, but they blasted Philly. Now you go on the road to Buffalo, who's working through some stuff. We don't know what Miami's going to be looking like. We just talked about their offensive line. Will Tyreek Hill's injury linger with his ankle, which he said really stiffened up on him? You get Buffalo, Miami, and the Lions in the next 3 weeks. Right now, they're sitting pretty, man. 10-3. You cannot knock how good the Dallas Cowboys have been right now.
Oh, you can. You can find a way.
We will sit there and I will always say this. Their defense can be shaky, but they haven't, except for that. I mean, they had that blip in the Seattle game. In this 5-game winning streak, they've allowed 17, 10, 10, 35 to Seattle, and then 13 points to the Eagles. They're pretty damn good defensively, too. But as with every Dallas team, I'll really start believing in January.
In February. We'll see what happens.
Oh, you're assuming that they make it to February.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's no assumption being made, that's for sure. My first up, this is not as backhanded as it sounds. It's Zach Wilson not caring.
Okay.
Zach Wilson basically saying, what are they going to do? Bench me?
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
And going out there, throwing for 300 yards, throwing a couple touchdowns, and beating the brakes off the Houston Texans.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was an impressive performance for a guy who has been much maligned, I believe is the appropriate phrase.
I would say that would be the nicest way that you could say his tenure's been.
Look at me doing something the nicest way.
Look, hey! But that is it's a great way to put it, because him not giving a rip, it actually showed the way that he played, and it was much better than what he's put out there before. My second one is the Ravens, also 10-3. And atop the AFC, what happened around them, we see the carnage that can happen with the top teams in the AFC. We had Miami lose this weekend. You had Kansas City lose again this weekend, and you created a little bit more distance right there. The Jaguars have dropped a couple of games. They have you talk about a nice little cushion that they have. The Baltimore Ravens are quietly playing the most consistent and good football in the NFL this year. And as you look at it right now, they are also entering the toughest stretch of their season. And it's not really all that tough. They've got some schedule love here, because the next 3, at Jacksonville, at San Francisco, and versus Miami. Now, those last 2 are pretty tough too, but for that being your toughest stretch of the season, I think you'll take it right there.
I too am going to take the Ravens as for one of my ups, and I'm going to go Finding Nemo here. Just keep swimming, just keep swimming. That's what the Ravens are doing. They get a punt return touchdown to seal it in overtime. They just keep finding a way to win despite whatever injuries. They just go full goldfish, man.
Yep.
Look at that. 2 analogies: Ted Lasso and Finding Nemo, all in one.
The Bears is my third up. They currently hold the first, and I believe I saw somewhere the 5th picks based on the
first and 5th.
If the season ended today. But how about this? They're only 1 game out of the wild card. And they have season splits in their division with the Vikings and with the Lions already. So they can still have the season split with the Packers, too. They may find their way in the playoffs.
Unbelievable. The NFC is so dumb. The NFC North is violently dumb.
And look, it's going to be... You're going to need your defense to show up this next week, because they got the Browns, and that's like the first to 10 wins that game. But their remaining schedule is the Browns, Cardinals, Falcons, Packers. Browns, Cardinals, and Falcons. Cardinals are going to be terrible.
Oh, they're
the Falcons
turning into the skid.
You have that game on the road in the Dome. I'd have a lot more confidence if it was in Soldier Field and in Chicago, and having Atlanta come up. You got some winnable games there, and the Bears are not that far out. But they
So
also,
gross.
if they lose, they're also a top 5 pick right now.
It's win-win.
Everything is shaping up for the Bears.
Well, I mean, they can count on the number 1 pick because the Panthers are the worst team in football.
That's right. And the
my-
worst trade. You've said it. This could be the Herschel Walker
This might,
trade.
yeah, it quite literally might be that,
Depending on how good, or if they don't screw up Caleb Williams, you know.
which is always on the table.
Yeah, it's always on the table.
My third up, it's the 49ers mean machine. They just get out there. They just do what they do.
Yeah.
And the Ravens might be quietly the best team in football. The 49ers are loudly the best team in football. It's an emphatic punch to the jaw. Nothing the 49ers do is quiet on either side of the ball. And there's just something about them. Look, this has been brewing in San Francisco under both Harbaugh and Shanahan, where they have had teams that are unquestionably Super Bowl favorites.
Yep.
And they keep falling short for a myriad of reasons. I'm not blaming Harbaugh. I'm not blaming Shanahan. They have just had stuff.
Last year's injuries, man.
They piled up, and it has just been something for 7 or 8 years now.
Yeah.
For the 49ers that it's just kept them from getting back over that hump again. And right now, as long as they're healthy, they're going to beat whoever's in front of them.
All right, my first down that I have is the Green Bay Packers and Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur.
That sounds like a villain from like a thief movie.
Cram it up your cram hole, LaFleur.
Or Dodgeball.
So that's true too.
He's the good guy in Dodgeball, though. Matt LaFleur, his loss last night to the New York Giants.
Should never happen.
It is the first time he has ever lost a game in the month of December. He was 16-0 in the month of December as a head coach before last night's loss to Tommy Cutlets and the New York Giants. Not a good stat.
That's I guess playing at Lambeau in December is super helpful for that.
Yeah, for half your games, though, like half of them were on the road. It's wild that he's been that good in the month of December, and it's a credit to what the Green Bay Packers have done in the month of December, and having Aaron Rodgers definitely helped. But even with Jordan Love, still finding ways.
I like it. I'm picking up what you're putting down. My first down is Brandon Staley's still employed.
Yeah, that seems like a fair one.
I feel like I've had this one on the downs for a while now.
Yeah.
Because he's still there.
It should be.
Why?
It should be.
Why is he still there?
Yeah.
For everyone's sake, why is he still there? That man had 1,000-yard stare on the sideline.
It may have been further than 1,000. It was pretty.
Let him go. Impressive. It's a mercy killing at this point. Let him go.
All right, my second down is the Carolina Panthers. They aren't just the worst team in football. They're 1-12 on the season. They don't have a first-round pick. Their number 1 overall pick in Bryce Young this year. I've never seen a stat line like this. He completed a pass to 6 different receivers. Did not throw an interception. He only tallied 137 yards passing. And 6 different players caught a pass. The math just doesn't make sense there.
Woof.
He had 1 completion for 2 yards to Tommy Tremble. Rasheem Blackshear had 1 catch for 4 yards. Chuba Hubbard had 2 catches for 9 yards to your back out of the backfield. Okay, those are 4 of his completions were only for 15 yards. 5 completions for 15 yards.
3 yards catch, huh?
And yet, they still found a way to be one of the worst offenses in football. Despite rushing for 200 yards, they only scored 6 points. I've never seen anything like it. They ran the ball for 204 yards and only mustered 6 points.
David Tepper, this is what you've built. Congratulations.
None of them are a touchdown.
I'm going to take one crappy cat to another. The Lions meow.
Defense.
That defense is sus. They're not biting kneecaps. They're biting toes. They're not even reaching kneecaps at this point.
No, they're not.
And the Fighting Dan Campbells are disappointing, not only because they hurt me on my covers, but they're a team that I went from trusting almost wholeheartedly a month ago to you lost to the freaking Bears.
Stop Bears.
They're not good.
Hey, could be a playoff team. I just got done saying that.
Doesn't matter. They're not good.
No, they're not.
Carnage in the streets.
All right, my final down for this week 14 of the National Football League. How can we not go further down than
A cheeseburger and went to bed.
it's Kansas City Chiefs, my man? Not only do you lose, but then you have your head coach and your quarterback make a fool out of themselves.
Have you seen Mahomes has walked his comments back today?
Absolutely.
Why?
He did.
Because the public went against him.
No, he said the kids. Won't somebody think of the children is what he went with.
You're kidding me.
No.
I got to be better for the kids.
But here's where the big down is. They've lost 3 of 4, man. They've lost 3 of 4, and that one win is against the Las Vegas Raiders, which we saw what they can do.
or can't do.
Score. And
It's like Will Ortner in college.
they could be getting back, right? They have the Patriots and the Raiders in the next 2 games. But right now, man, they're lucky that their division is doo-doo in the fact that the Denver Broncos didn't stumble out of the gates, fell on their face out of the gates to a 1-5 start. Because if it was any semblance of the Broncos team that we're seeing right now, the Chiefs aren't even the top team in the AFC West. They aren't. Because what the Broncos defense has been absolutely lights out, and their offense has been doing just enough. Think about, this is a Broncos team that gave up 70 points in week 3. 70 stinking points. They lost to the Commanders and the Raiders out of the gate this season. They lost to the Jets.
Can you say
early
that
in
last
the
one
year.
again?
They lost to the Jets?
No, the Raiders.
The Commanders and the Raiders?
Yeah, Raiders.
Yeah, they lost to the Raiders.
Yeah.
Don't act like this is any sort of badge of honor because they're dead last in that horrible division. But the Chiefs, man, they're on the struggle bus right now.
Oh, God.
And it's good playing in a crappy division.
Oh, my goodness. That division is awful. Who saw that one coming? My last one is the Giants.
I love your disdain for. I love the disdain that you have though when anytime the Denver Broncos are named, like you just go.
Oh, God. If they're actually good, I'd give them some credit. They're not that good. Speaking of not that good, what the hell are the Giants doing? You don't know what you have at quarterback going forward. You know that Daniel Jones was a mistake, and yet you're not steering into the skid, and you're taking yourself out of the ability to draft Drake May.
Hey, they got Tommy Cutlets, and that's what they're going to roll with, man.
The short-sightedness of that team, of that front office, of that ownership is insane. It's unconscionable.
Yeah, teams don't tank though. I mean, not even Carolina Panthers are tanking because there's no reason for them to.
These teams have tanked. The Cardinals are tanking.
The Cardinals have played actually better as of late. They had a bye this past week.
They're still tanking.
They beat the Steelers 24-10.
Kyler Murray threw for 145 yards.
They still are. They've won the 2 of their last 4. Tanking teams just the wheels fall off and they lose everything, right? Like they beat 2 teams that are in the playoffs right now. Like teams don't tank.
If you look, it's insane actually. If you look at the standings coming into this week, there's 5 teams with only 4 wins.
They're just a bad roster and inept ownership.
There's 5 teams with only 4 wins. Now, there's only 1. They went full Highlander. Only the Commanders remain at 4 wins, and the Cardinals at 3, your god-awful Patriots at 3, and the Panthers at 1.
And they won.
Which means
Take that, Stellars.
America's team, the Raiders, at 5 and 8.
Steelers.
They have a chance to suck just enough to maybe catch up.
If you surround yourself with turds, you're headed towards Turdville.
Turdville, baby, that's where we're going.
Yeah.
Get on, you lunatics. Let's go to
That's a
Turdville.
bad statistic, buddy.
That's right. Oh man, I love that.
Statistics.
I love how fired up you get about tanking too.
I don't understand it. What? We're going to go win one more game because we like the positive recognition that we get from this quarterback we're not going to do anything with going forward. It's so short-sighted. It's just so violently done.
Yeah, but you can see though in the NFL how quickly you can turn it around though, man. You know? You can turn it around pretty quickly.
You shouldn't. That's all I'm saying. You shouldn't do it. All right, coming up next, college football playoff is still a little ways away, but there may be some mounting noise about rallying around one team. Danny and Dusty, Today the Fan.
that's ever going to happen. P. Harris is in here because he is filling in for Isaac Ropp today. And he was yesterday.
And tomorrow.
Love P. Harris. And the hot corner, which is hot stoving.
He's proudly wearing his Cougs hat right now.
Look, there is something that is very real that every fan in the Northwest needs to be ready for. I saw Ryan McGee, Marty and McGee of ESPN. He put out a thing asking the question, is Washington America's team during the college football playoff? And if you are a Duck or a Coug or, hell, even a Beaver, because of all of the legal proceedings that are going on,
it's going to hurt a little bit.
It's going to be one that is going to take some adjustment for, but in the reality of it, look at the other teams that are there.
Michigan had the sign stealing scandal,
and they've been there before, and Harbaugh can rub people the wrong way.
Everybody hates America's team. Jim Harbaugh told me they were America's team.
Bet.
Yeah.
They've always been America's team for me.
Look up what that means, but America.
They've gone through the
offense,
most.
There's no defense. It's a we fence.
A we fence.
A lot of milk.
They've gone through the most adversity.
I will say
boy.
I'd still take Michigan over the other teams involved,
But-
where you have Alabama, who nobody likes.
And that's the thing, is that Alabama has been there so often, and there's a lot of controversy if Alabama should have even been in, because there's a lot of people that are going to be pulling for Florida State to should have been in, and all of those people are going to be mad that Alabama was in. Plus, they've been there, and there is also Texas, which people just hate the University of Texas.
Texas is actually back.
Yeah, it hurt.
Texas first being back is
it
over.
Hurt me to say that earlier, but we'll see. But there's a lot of people that are going to be rooting for Washington to make sure Texas is not back, right? They get their seat at the table, and if they lose, that is one that is going to make a lot of people happy. Outside of this area, people are going to love, because there's nothing that Washington has done.
It's going to be purple rain, man.
To make everybody else upset. Then you look at a guy like, you have Kalen DeBoer, his story, starting at Sioux Falls, where he guided Sioux Falls to multiple national championships at the NAIA level, worked his way up, was at Fresno State, and then gets his chance at UW and knocks it out of the park. That's a story that people are going to get behind. There's going to be Big Ten fans that just don't like Michigan, who are going to say Michael Penix Jr. in the recovery from Indiana, and where he was injury plagued and they just weren't very good, and he goes and he finds success and is a finalist for the Heisman Trophy, takes second in Heisman voting, and while he's there, he's wearing a suit jacket that has his teammates and his coach's names on the lining of his jacket. All of those things are going to draw people in. Washington is going to be the one that they try to say is the little engine that could, right? Even though everybody here knows that that's not the case. And I think
they're going to, Washington themselves are going to rally behind that 100%.
Washington fans, I think that storyline may eventually start rubbing them the wrong way, because everything that Washington has told you is, oh, we're a program of history and tradition and national title and 91 and all
high
that.
Education level and all those things.
And everything that is going to be said is Washington has come out of nowhere. And that's how it's going to be framed to get people pulling for UW.
Because you need the plucky upstart.
And this is a team that
you can't say that about Texas. You sure as hell can't say that about Alabama.
And in the
you
last
can't say it about Michigan.
23 years, they've won one major bowl game. And it was the 2001 Rose Bowl was the last major bowl game that they've won. Like, even though they went to a college football playoff in 2016,
did not go well.
It didn't go well. And so the framing of it, because a lot of the people are going to be like, old people will know Washington was really good. And it was a rich and historic program that does deserve to have the title of a program with rich tradition and history. The last 23 years, when college football has exploded and has become the multi-billion-dollar business that it is, Washington has largely not been relevant. And they will start pushing that, and you can kind of start seeing it when you have Ryan McGee's asking the question, hey, is Washington America's team for the college football playoff? And that's going to make, I know Duck and Coug fans are not going to like that and hearing that very often, but that's the reality of it, is that it is a storyline that would not exist if it was Oregon or if it was Florida State who made the playoff and Washington was not in it. They're the one the one program that everybody's going to look to and say, hey, we're going to hitch our wagons to them. They're not Michigan. They're not the cheaters. They're not Alabama, who's been there again and again and again, and people that feel that Florida State got cheated for going undefeated and not having a seat at that table. And then you sit there and you go, Texas, we just don't want Texas to be back, so we're just going to root for Washington instead. And all the Big 12 is going to be rooting for Washington because of the fact that Texas is thumbing their nose and heading to the SEC next year. And that's another thing, too, is that people are going to be pulling for Washington to end the reign of dominance from the South. And all the Big Ten is going to be
Which is hilarious because they're going to the Big Ten.
Yeah. And like this texture says, we can't forget the Ty Willingham 08 season. UW's come a long way in just 15 years. Sure as hell have. Heck, they've come a long ways in the last 2 years under Kalen DeBoer. What he has done with that program is incredible because what we saw from Jimmy Lake when he took over was an unmitigated disaster because everybody's like, this roster's too talented to be as dysfunctional as they are. And they were all right. And now you're seeing these guys. And here's a storyline that will be just pounded down your throat over the next 2 weeks. Everybody came back for this year at Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had so many guys come back and say one more run. We're gonna do it one more year to see if we can get over the hump. And
they have so far.
They're gonna have a damn good shot of winning the whole thing because this year is as wide open as it's been in decades. That's not the case the last time Washington made it.
No, they were severely outgunned and outmatched.
Yep.
That's the world they find themselves in now.
Be ready. You're gonna hear a lot of it, and it's gonna hurt. It's deserving though. Like it is deserving.
They're a very good team.
They are going to be framed as America's team for the college football playoff, and
it's
going to
be so weird, and everybody here is going to hate it.
Yeah, and look, you hear this a lot when you talk to players and coaches. It's like I don't really hate the players on the other team. I hate their fans.
Yeah,
a lot
of that,
and we all know there's insufferable Husky fans in a lot of them. But that can be said for Oregon State, Washington State. There is fans in every fan base that are like that. And maybe the country's maybe the country's gonna find that out too.
Strong chance of that happening. All right. From, I don't know, I guess a sour taste in your mouth for rooting for a team maybe you don't like to maybe rooting for a quarterback you don't trust. Which of the quarterbacks out there maybe they could make a playoff run team are you most comfortable riding with? We'll get to that here on Danny Dusty. But first, here's Will Orton with Sports Center Update. out here. Just because you get in doesn't mean you got a real chance. It's real. Because the quarterback pool this year is badgered, beat up, depleted, beat down, roughed up, banged up, however you want to put it. It's a shallow pool.
It ain't great. It ain't. We've talked about this. Like you're nearing and you're getting closer and closer now that the Vikings are even on their backups backup. Now going to Nick Mullins again, and they just said that Nick Mullins will start, so the Pastronaut is officially dead. Josh Dobbs came crashing back down to earth, and he is right in the thick of now being a backup yet again for the Minnesota Vikings. You have Justin Herbert, who's been shut down for the year. Okay, so we are looking at like half of the league is working with backup quarterbacks, and that doesn't bode well for any of those teams to succeed in the playoffs. But at the same time, look at the standings for the 6th through in the NFC. Look through 6 through 13. 6 is the Minnesota Vikings at 7-6, who we just got done saying it's not Kirk Cousins, it's not Josh Dobbs, it's Nick Mullins, who was their backup and then he got
Which
hurt.
he sounds like he plays basketball.
Nick Mullins, great backup quarterback for the 49ers. But you have, they're at 7-6. The Packers with Jordan Love are at 6-7. The Rams are sitting here in the hunt still, 6-7. And their roster, everybody's saying this could be rebuild and just crashing the side of the mountain. They're right there in the thick of a playoff race where they could be the 7th seed with one loss by Green Bay. Seattle, which Geno Smith got hurt. You're on Drew Lock last week. Desmond Ridder in the Atlanta Falcons. You have Derek Carr, who somehow, some way keeps getting put out on a football field and getting hurt every single week, and Jameis Winston as their quarterback. At 5-8, you have the New York Giants and Chicago Bears. They are one game out. The Bears and the Giants with Justin Fields and Tommy DeVito of the playoffs in the NFC. It's not good.
It's slim pickings, as the kids would say.
And the AFC's just as bad, where you have the Kenny Pickett-less Steelers are currently the 6th seed. Gardner Minshew-led Colts are the 7th seed. CJ Stroud
is up in the air there.
His brain is scrambled right now. They're at 8. Here come the Denver Broncos at 7-6, along with the Cincinnati Bengals and Buffalo Bills.
Remember, Bengals are on Browning.
Yeah, they're on Browning, and then you got Russell Wilson, right? So this comes down to the question of we just listed half of the league damn near is in that hunt for the final 2 playoff spots in both the AFC and the NFC.
Yeah, if you look at those final 2 spots in both conferences, you've got probably 10-ish teams. 8 of them have backup quarterbacks. And the other ones, the ones that are starting, you're Russell Wilson, Baker Mayfield, Jordan Love, Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so we go down this road of, all right, and that's not even to mention the NFC South, where currently at 6-7,
it's wide open.
Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in the driver's seat of the NFC South at 6-7. We just listed a bunch of teams that are still in their playoffs. And then look at the top, too. Look at the top of some of these the NFC, where Jared Goff is the quarterback of the Detroit Lions. I asked this question. Which quarterback in the NFC North do you trust the most? Jared Goff, Justin Fields, Nick Mullins, Jordan Love.
Still Goff for me.
Currently, 3 of those quarterbacks are in the playoffs if they started today. 3, and it is
insane.
Goff, Mullins, and Love. That is where you're looking at like shaky quarterback play and like how important, the most important position in all of sports. And 3 of those 4 guys, like if you were to power rank them, you're probably going Goff, Love, Fields, Mullins.
Yeah.
And you're probably splitting hairs in the bottom 2. But it's not like that gap is not a huge gap.
It's not as big as you want it to be with Goff, that's for sure.
But then you go, all right, if quarterback play is going to decide these last few weeks, is in just looking in the NFC, Matthew Stafford in LA. If you can get Geno Smith healthy in Seattle.
Stafford has been, if not the worst, he's been at the very bottom of the league when pressured this year. It's him and Goff. when they've been pressured, they have been absolute tire fires. It has been the numbers. Like it is not versus non-pressure, elite quarterback play versus pressure. Some of the worst quarterback play you've ever seen. It absolutely craters.
See, and that's why, even though they're going through it right now, and there's some big chinks in their armor, the Philadelphia Eagles, when you have Jalen Hurts, and even though you're going to probably be the wild card, unless you get your ship right.
Unless you run the table.
And because Dallas and San Francisco, you're okay
winning
with their quarterback play. They are, in all likely, going to keep on winning. Dallas, the next 3 games will tell us a lot. Okay. You trust Philly still because they've got Jalen Hurts. When you look at all the other guys that are vying for those playoff spots in the NFC, like, this is why there shouldn't be like overwhelming panic in Philly.
No.
I know that your perception is playoff or bust, but when it comes down to it, and if you get to the dance and you stay healthy in that opening week, that playoff game is going to be against Green Bay in Philadelphia, right? You're feeling pretty good about that, right?
Because you're going to end up going against the quarterback.
You're going to be playing Tampa is who you'd play, because you're the first wild card, and you'll play the 4 seed. So you're going to Tampa and you're playing Baker Mayfield in the Buccaneers.
No matter what happens,
you're gonna feel okay.
You're going to end up playing a subpar quarterback. Like, that's the way this is all shaking out.
And that's why you sit there and you're like, all right, we're in the final month.
Sure, you want the bye, but
the bye only goes to one.
The quarterback play is not something you're going to have to fight against.
It's crazy to think about just how steep that drop off is this year, because when you have this many guys hurt in the NFL and you're playing with this many backups, quarterback play, and we continue to say this because it's across the board the highest it's ever been, right? Except for the fall off to your backup is pretty damn steep, and everybody's on their backups this year.
Look, it's super weird, the homogenization, the evening out, as it were, of quarterback play across the NFL. Because look, Patrick Mahomes he's not being deterred from a path of being one of the greatest players to ever play the game, to ever play the position. But with injuries and the number of quarterbacks that are just even bad quarterback play in the NFL is still so much better than bad quarterback play used to be. Does that make sense? Like the bar is so much higher for crappy quarterback play.
It is.
Like you pull Joe Flacco off the street and he still throws for 300 and a couple tutties.
Joe Flacco, man.
You know what I mean? Like that's not normal.
He was an elite quarterback, though.
He's 10 years removed from it.
Can't remove the eliteness.
You can.
Super Bowl winning quarterback Joe Flacco.
You can get away from that. But that's the thing is, like, you can get away from it. But even the backup play, like you look at backups, like the level of backup play, I would say, is probably 25 years ago, bad starter. Like right on that edge.
There's a lot. I think we forget how bad some of the quarterbacks were starting in the NFL.
That's what I mean.
Like we're talking about teams like the Barry Sanders documentary, right? How bad his quarterback play was.
Like Scott Mitchell had 1 year of like good quarterback play, and the rest was like,
And we are in a situation this year where, look, if both Denver and Buffalo can back their way into the playoffs, those teams all of a sudden seem very scary. The AFC is very scary at that point.
Particularly Buffalo, because you know what Josh Allen can and has done in the past.
And you look across from the NFC to the AFC and you go, you could be looking at Lamar, Tua, Mahomes, Trevor Lawrence, Russell Wilson in the twilight years, and then you could have Josh Allen as well. There's a stark difference in the level of quarterback play there as opposed to what you're going to see in the NFC in that wild card
Imagine
round.
getting that bye in the first round in the AFC, and your reward is Josh Allen.
Well, you get the bye, and then you play. Well, I mean, imagine if you're Miami. Like, if you're Miami, and you're sitting there, and they're the 7th seed, and you have to play them week 1 in the wild card round. By the way, guess who ends the season against each other? Miami goes to Buffalo in the final week of the regular season.
Oh, that's going to decide some stuff. Which is why I love the division. The season always on the division games.
There you go.
NFL
And they
got that
could-
one right.
They could play each other in the wild card round of the playoffs.
All right, when we come back, we'll wrap up today's show, and we have to talk about something we missed yesterday. It was one of the most epic beatings in college sports we have ever heard. Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.